Rosa Lane is the author of 4 poetry collections, including Called Back in Queer Conversation with Emily Dickinson from Tupelo Press 2024, and winner of the 2025 Maine Literary Book Award. Chateau's Chalk, winner of the Georgia Poetry Prize from the University of Georgia Press 2019. Tiller North, winner of the National Indie Excellence Award from 16 Rivers Press 2016, and Roots and Reckonings, a chapbook. Rosa's work was named Best of Poetry for the 2024 Gaminga Prize and won the 2023 Morton Marcus Memorial Poetry Prize. Poems have appeared in Cloudbank, 5 Points, Nimrod, Rhino, Third Coast, and elsewhere. Rosa's website is www.rosalane.com. She has titled her reading Poetry Reading in Queer Conversation with Emily Dickinson. Please welcome Rosa Lane.
Thank you so much, and it's so wonderful to see everyone here, and friends and new friends, and certainly some very familiar names. I'll start a little bit with a slight introduction here to my book Called Back. I'll be reading. Let me start my timer here. Sorry. I'll be reading from Call Back, as Sandy mentioned, my 4th poetry collection, newly released in last September from Tupelo Press. The book's title, Called Back, uses the last 2 words that Emily Dickinson wrote before she died. Most scholars agree that Susan Gilbert Huntington, who later became Emily's sister-in-law, was a core love of Emily's. They met sometime in their late teens. Letters that Emily wrote to Susan reveal a romantic and erotic passion between them that lasted until Emily's death on May 15th, 1886. She was 55 years old when she died. Whether as a front marriage or for financial reasons or for whatever reason, Susan married Emily's brother, Austin, at first as a platonic arrangement, and by doing so, Susan became a Dickinson. They married on July 1st, 1856, but the correspondence between Emily and Susan began in 1852. Susan and Austin lived next door in a home called the Evergreens, and the relationship that started out platonic and Austin agreed to it actually evolved, and they ended up having 3 children, which became complicated for Emily. Recent research is bringing the LGBTQ plus dimensions of Emily to light that have been overlooked, muted, even erased from her work. I call it straight washing for more than a century. Called Back gives voice to these emerging queer dimensions, each poem catalyzed by a selected epigraph from Emily Dickinson's work, hence the conversation with the epigraphic selection. As I'll do throughout the reading, I will read first the poem title, then I'll read the epigraph by Dickinson, and then I'll repeat the poem title so you know where my poem begins. So I'll begin with the poem Clothesline, and there's a word Sumerian toward the end of the poem. It is refers to a place where northern people live in perpetual darkness, and it's taken from classical mythology. Clothesline. I saw the wind within her. I knew it blew for me. Dickinson, number 1502. Clothesline. Our night clothes whip the line, clipped side by side, swell and billow frantic for embodiment. Cold winds advantage our absence, inflate, take up habitation throughout the day, makeshift pro tempore. Can you see our vacancies weave and twist our arms flailing? Our night clothes crawl the afternoon, elongate shadows. We slither the barnyard's first frost, crust last summer's grass, peeking green escape. See how we play dead, emptiness, slat dry huffs hung back into our Cimmerian closet replete. I'll follow with a poem entitled Dear Divers, My Fellow Men. Divers was a code word that Emily used for men. She also had several code words for Sue in her poems. So much of this work had to included decoding Dickinson's work. Some other words in the poem: lodestar is a star that shows the way. Rhumb, R-H-U-M-B, is a point on a compass. Lee is a nautical term that's turned away from the wind. I mentioned J. Leda by his last name, a Dickinson scholar who in his introduction of his work on Dickinson stated that Dickinson's poems omitted their center. I think I know what the center was that was omitted. Leonodon is also mentioned, a name of a plant from medieval times, and the Earl is a British nobleman. Dear divers, my fellow men, take all away from me, but leave me ecstasy, and I am richer then than all my fellow men. Dickinson, number 1640. Did the paradise persuaded yield her mote of pearl? Would the Eden be an Eden, or the Earl an Earl? Dickinson, number 213. Dear divers, my fellow men, Eden laps my pillow without lodestars or room. I roll your wake into the lea's chop, moor and high dive the quilt, my whole tabernacle under tented knees. Inside Leda's omitted center I lie, the marine rondure for reckless nights diving pearl. Not you, divers, but I, her bearded bridegroom. Roll that pearl between fingers, take my ungiven right of way. The boy of me riddled inside Eden, your bounty hunters case the wrong field. Come to my phantom mead, I am here in Sappho's asphodels. See me, Leonodon standing there, the Earl ruling on one tubular leg, my puffed cowl aged white, ready to blow my pistol and seed. Nantes, and the next poem is a French seaport located at the mouth of the Loire River, known historically for the sardine industry. And Maggie, who's mentioned in the poem, was a domestic servant of the Dickinsons and known as Emily's confidant. French sardines. Wild nights, were I with thee, wild nights should be our luxury. Dickinson, number 249. French sardines. French sardines arrive from Boston, tin-plated. Maggie levers her can cutter at the edge, jacks her hand around the lid of hunger's fulcrum. Silver-skinned and nested, their caudal fins swim a sea of marinade, white salt cured, drenched in extra virgin, beheaded and gutted by the women of Nantes. We lay each body across a soda cracker I have for days dreamed of, craving nights behind each pearly eye. We swim up the fishware. We spawn in sandy silt along the odic thighs of the Loire. We flutter our little deaths. Amputate my freckled bosom, make me bearded like a man. Those two words appear in the first four lines of Dickinson's poem number 1737. And the only scholar I have found so far who addresses these two lines is Maria Popova in her work Figuring, published in 2019. My poem that I'll read, entitled Pair de Corps, converses with these two lines. Pair de corps is a 16th century phrase referring to a pair of bodies, actually a pair of breasts, which also names a corset. The word wan refers to a pale color. Pair de corps. Amputate my freckled bosom, make me bearded like a man. Dickinson, number 1737. Pair de corps. Pair de corps. A pair of bodies hangs from my chest, sistered and whaleboned in a cuff. I want nothing of them. Still tethered and corseted, these oddments, small thimbles, two berries made for the mouth, speak a primal language, not mine. A wolf's ravish, or the infant's pucker for milk, a utensil gorged and sucked. Those fleshy hills are there for swallowing. Wan, two drifts of snow, wind-blown, renounced, raised by slice or tear, my bust blanked, my sternum flanked by ribs basal flat, like paired susurras. Phantom nipples hover endless pause. My hairless chin, dense and wild, my mouth squared. I am my beard, edged along the jaw, tinted curls, free fall, repronouned, plumed, and proud. So the gender fluidity in Dickinson's poems couldn't be more alive and well, as she kind of exploded there in that poem number 1737. Not only did Dickinson also had code words for Sue, I should have said Pearl as one of them because that appeared in Dear Divers. Divers appears again in the next poem in her epigraph. The word meerschaum is a carved smoking pipe, and latakia refers to a mild sweet pipe tobacco, and the word verboten appears toward the end of the poem, means forbidden by an authority. Othered, I speak. Her breast is fit for pearls, but I was not a diver. Her brow is fit for thrones, but I have not a crest. Dickinson, number 84. Othered, I speak. I am wrong to start with, to have, to strop and hone the blade, shave without a tuft, to bind, bone wrap my breasts they will not leave, to swag my trousers and waistcoat in a dark no one sees, to ramrod the barrel, gun cock lean a corner, the house dead ends. To hike sails, captain my ship, doldrum drifting nowhere windless. To bypass the lungs, drop my voice to the diaphragm, timbre gravitas. To smoke my meerschaum, virile and fragrant, blending latakia, smoke rings in solo. I curf the flesh of atoms, apple verboten, pith the larynx, my mouth plosive, hushed. Dear Sir, letter number 7. And they no more remember me, nor ever turn to tell me why. Oh, master, this is misery. Emily Dickinson, number 462. Love stricken, why is all that love can speak. Dickinson, number 1368. Dear Sir, tell me, sir, why I wake with a bird in my mouth, why my heart seeks a nest in a sparrow's beak when I worship want on the tip of her wing. Why, when I visit Eden, I want Eve, not Adam. Why I long for doors that cannot open. Why I plant myself in situ, move about light, yet cannot lift my feet. Why I live more myth than element. Why I fold myself in a letter delivered elsewhere, my address unopened, still lying on the table. Why my finger inserts the loop of a hot teacup, its curved lip sips, kisses a future not yet. Why the moon comes to my window full-bellied, stares. Why, when I reach for her, she empties, turns sickle, leaves me in shreds. Dickinson was obsessed with death, which inspired my next poem. Limning not only means to give light to, but also in art to outline a subject, the title of the poem being Limning Death. You will also hear the phrase an impalement artist associated with a spinning human target, usually called a target girl, pinned to a circular board at the mercy of a knife thrower in a circus stunt referred to as the Wheel of Death. Limning death. I felt a funeral in my brain. Dickinson, number 280. She dealt her pretty words like blades. Dickinson, number 479. Limning death. Immortalities strut around the homestead as if they own everything. Their ceremonial stop at the mantle, forevering. Father's daguerreotypes seal our faces, brass matted, muted, red velvet softens a haze of black bleeding in. My little room, more shadow than light, spins on the wheel of death. I am an impalement artist, one knife toss away from the thrower's mistake. I disappear in tiny mouthfuls each day. I study any sign of being taken. My room stunned by morning, I am still here. Yesterday, I died again, swept myself into a dustpan, rattled the windows like a beggar's cup. I yearn for the perennial garden, yet I have no gender, just the moon waxing her wont at the bluff. The last poem I'll read is entitled Transitus When the Blue Mist Rises. Dickinson, as I mentioned before, died on May 15th, 1886, at the age of 55. She had been ill for about 2.5 years and bedridden for 7 months of those same years prior to her passing. She died of hypertension, which may have been complicated by her Bright's disease. Emily left instructions to be done upon her death. Susan was given those instructions and was to wash her body in place in the bedroom. Her coffin was to be carried by 6 Irishmen who worked on the grounds of the homestead. Vinnie is Emily's younger sister. She's mentioned in the poem. They were to carry her coffin through the back door of the homestead, circling first her flower garden and then back and forth twice through the open barn before heading across a field of buttercups to lay her to rest at the cemetery. Nyctinasty is a word used as a phenomenon of flowers, as probably you all know, closing their petals at night. Transitus, when the blue mist rises. You cannot fold a flood and put it in a drawer. Dickinson, number 530. Transitus, when the blue mist rises, I hover. Only my body inhabits space, a deserted village you trespass. You bathe my streets, snuff gas lamps yellowing the common. You close my lids, clipped cowlicks, understories overgrowing the banks of Fort River. I lean into the field's narrow neck. You unwrap the bandage, kiss the wound, rosed by yet another May I smell coming. You turn your back as if you could ignore the river ascending its limbic rim, rushing past my bureau, my bed already carried down rapids, our secret, purpling hyacinths in a vase of regret. I descend the stairs in a box balanced on the shoulders of 6 Irishmen. Vinnie's violets dressed my throat. The back door opened to my garden. I lie in the parlor, 2 heliotropes in hand, bloodstones earthy green, flecked with jasper in its bright red reminder before redemption, before nyctinastic close, wounds lay bare in even fall's last light. Thank you so much. I can't wait to hear Lisa's work next. And I can't see you all. I can only see my own face on here. So thank you so much for listening.